Hello, my friends, and welcome to this episode of Common Sense View. For a few days now, the Middle East have been burning, and what is going on there have turned what has been going on in Ukraine into a footnote. But it turned from people are dying to a statistics. A lot of people died till just a mere footnote that is barely mentioned on any page on any newspaper. And that is to tell you how everything is going to happen. In a while, also, the war in Gaza also disappeared. And that is how it is. How much we value human life, how much we toil around with human life. That is why diplomacy is deliberately relegated to the backside, because it is a self-savory problem and give people the opportunity to live their life and be happy. So what is going on? Now, before I make any single entrance into this situation, you have to know, I don't support whatever is happening in the Middle East. I don't support Israel and I don't support Iran. As a matter of fact, the argument of some proponents of Israel's success or whatever in this situation, say Israel, the people are shouting death over them and they have to attack. Probably yes. And against Iran, they are shouting death over Israel and death over America. Right also. But the fact that neither of the two sides can come and negotiate for peace, that makes me repudiate both sides. Yeah. Sometime few months ago, Iran was bombarding from every angle, almost 200 missiles. And Israel retaliated. Tit for tat, tit for tat. So in any case, I don't think any person is a victor here and any person is a vanquished. Any person is a victim or a victor. I don't see it that way. If you don't come to the table and negotiate and stop the onslaught on people who have nothing to do with your diplomacy or your autocracy or your fascism, if you don't do that, nobody knows where this is going to end. This is indicating from every angle that it might skyrocket, it might snowball into something bigger. Did I mention World War? No, I didn't. It's already trending, so I don't have to mention it. So what I had to do, just give a snapshot about the war, read from few pages of the newspapers or news sites, and then we look into another issue, which is a little bit a concern to me. This issue of you have white privilege and you don't have white privilege. You have a black less privilege and you don't have less black privilege. And I want to understand what led people to think about themselves as either superior to any person or having more advantage over somebody that is inherent in the person's nature and not controlled by the things the person has control over. So I want to talk about that. And the case study is a professor, US professor, talking to the students who are vibrantly asking questions as if they know what they're talking about, professing their supremacy or their privilege over a professor. They are professor. That is to tell you how much they've been brainwashed. So we come to that. And finally, we will conclude with an outrageous position taken by Whoopi Goldberg, who compared life in Iran as being on the same par with life in the US. I don't know. To me, I was simply dumbfounded that somebody who had been in the international limelight for as long as I can remember is so abysmally inept to believe that. But when we get there, you will hear it for yourself and make your own judgment. Okay, before we continue, if you are just branching here for the first time, I solicit humbly that you give me a thumb up, comment and share. And if you listen a little bit and you get some value, even if it is the way I talk or the way I present things, do good to subscribe so that at least you have the opportunity to criticize me another time. And I'm okay with that. So that being said, let us take this first news I'm taking here is from the Hill. The Hill. Trump keeps Iran lawmakers guessing on potential attack plans. Now, it's a little bit, they gave out a lot, too quick. Trump never said he will attack or he will not attack. Yeah, he kept them guessing. But he wasn't using attack in that sense. He said everything is on the table. Now, President Trump is keeping the world guessing as he mulls whether to join Israel escalating attacks on Iran aimed at destroying its nuclear program. The president met with his national security aides in the Situation Room for a second consecutive day on Wednesday while openly weighing whether to strike Iran. Nobody knows what I'm going to do, Trump told reporters at the White House. I like to make a final decision 1 second before it's due. So that's the position he took when a reporter asked him if he's going to strike Iran, and he said, "Who answers such a question? I'm not going to answer you if I'm going to strike Iran. The point is, I might or I might not." Which makes sense. Don't just give away your card in the first round. You have to be strategic about it, because it's not just like you have an open mouth. Whatever you say, it's not like Biden, when he says something, the eyes will come back and say, when he says this, he meant to say this. No, whatever he says, even the things he thought, and most of the times wrongfully categorized. So to make any utterance, he has to weigh the value, because it is actually going to be effective, or it is going to be misconstrued as what he said or what he didn't say. So going forward, Israel officials said Thursday they would intensify their strikes after Iran targeted a key hospital in southern Israel in an overnight missile attack. Israel, meanwhile, carried out airstrikes on Iran's Arak heavy water reactor. Okay. The Wall Street Journal reports Trump told senior aides he approved of an attack plan for Iran, but was holding off on giving a final order to see if the country abandoned its nuclear program. Bloomberg reports U.S. officials have drawn up plans for a possible strike on Iran in the coming days. Well, all of these are reports, and having gone through the series of blunders media have committed since the era of COVID, it's difficult to take anything without holding ground. So these are reports, according to the Hill, that they have prepared to strike. So I have listened to some pundits saying this is the opportunity to strike. Strike what? And the question is actually, why can't any country, if you have nuclear weapon, why can't another country has it? Who made one country superior over another? Do I want Iran to get nuclear weapon? Of course, no. But if Iran cannot have it, then everybody should destroy theirs. Let us be on a level playing ground. It's good everyone is on a level playing ground. You don't have it, you have up to 6,000. This one have up to 2,000. Pakistan has, India has, Israel has, China has. And then Iran will not have. I can understand their logic. Does it make it sound? No, it doesn't. There's no reason to acquire a nuclear weapon. There's no reason for any country to return the one they have. There's no reason to return the one they have, if not the flexing of muscles. The only two of these that were dropped in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the effect is still there today. And I think that is up to the level of genocide. The effect of that. It's unfortunate nobody sees it that way. That war would have been won without dropping those nuclear weapons. That's my opinion. And I think that there should be historical fact to back that. Because the Nazis were almost eliminated on the D-Day. So the dropping of those two nuclear bombs were more of a show of brute force. And keeping them or enriching or building more in this our planet, it shows the level of bloodthirstiness the whole world have gone to. There's no reason for any country to have nuclear weapon. And there's no moral authority, moral audacity for anyone who has to tell another not to have. Why can't we all come to net zero of nuclear weapon? So if we're having a nuclear reactor being built, it should be by default for electricity. since it is the cleanest electricity ever and most stable. It's a matter of fact. So Trump went forward. I'm not looking to fight. Trump later told reporter in the Oval Office. But if it's a choice between them fighting or having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do, and maybe we don't have to fight. Or it's see good that there is diplomacy as an option. So I go over to the Reuters. This is the account of Reuters. Okay, Israel said it was a mistake to say Iran's Bushehr was hit. Okay. So they are already falling into error. In fact, bombing a hospital, I don't know what the human toll, vocation of service. I don't know why it is necessary. The Tel Aviv team, an Israel military official said on Thursday that it was a mistake for a military spokesperson to have said earlier in the day that Israel has struck the Bushehr nuclear stand. It is unnecessary. It is unnecessary because the damage that can do is unimaginable. It doesn't matter who owns it. Once that thing drops, the debt is massive. So for us to be keeping that, even unarmed ballistic missile is terrifyingly disastrous, cataclysmic, let alone armed one with nuclear weapon. Israel-Iran threat fire. Okay, this is Wall Street Journal. All of these are the news. See what I said from the beginning. It's hard to find the Ukraine war at any of these headlines. Israel attack Iran Iraq nuclear reactor as Iran strike Israel. So, okay. Israel issues strongest direct threat to Iran's supreme leader. This is all about it. And what happened to the war in Ukraine? What happened there? It is still human beings dying there. Yeah, even though Trump said that he had a talk with Putin, who wanted to intervene in Iran, I told him, let us intervene and finish yours first, which makes sense if that discussion was held. If it was, then that is a good response to give Putin. Finish that war. But even though there's no reason why two of them cannot finish at the same time, that's not even a reason to fight them in the first place. And yet we go on damaging human beings, human life, everything people suffer to put together because the people on top care only about themselves, claiming that they care about those they are leading. Unfortunately. So that ends my discussion on Israel and Iran. As I said from the beginning, my position is that the war is unnecessary. And having a weapon, a nuclear weapon by any country, be it US, Russia, or whoever, is unnecessary. But if any of this country must have nuclear weapon, then there's no moral background to tell any country not to get theirs, because you don't have any preeminence over any country. Your own preeminence is in your own country. This is my position. Am I supporting Iran to get nuclear weapon? No, because my position is that there is no reason for any country to own or retain nuclear weapons. Is it allowed to enrich uranium? Yes, but to the grade to generate electricity, since it is considered the cleanest energy ever. The cleanest and most steady. So it can be said the IAEA or whatever they call themselves can come to that agreement so that Russia, US, China, Israel, Pakistan, India will destroy every single nuclear weapon they have because it is not needed. It's not needed. It doesn't have any place in our world. If we can't resolve conflict at this age of the planet Earth amicably, diplomatically, then all of these politicians have failed and should just self remove themselves from their positions, all of them. Now, something that is a little bit connected to Iran and Israel. That was the statement made by Whoopi Goldberg. You know Whoopi. She said in one of their sessions that Iran and US are on the same level of sanity, insanity, civility, and the chastising of their citizens. And I was asking myself, how can somebody in the level of Whoopi have such deranged and myopic view about her own country, millionaire? Compare herself to Iran, where women are treated massively differently. Whether they have right or not, I don't know, because it's wrong to judge them from my own anthropological perspective. But judging, if you want to have an objective view of what womanhood is, let's listen to Whoopi and their group to see whether this is outright insanity or if she's actually in her right mind.
I'm just saying that these are the people that attacked them. They fund Hamas. I understand why they're doing it. And by the way, let me remind people about Mahsa Amini, who's an Iranian woman who was killed for miswearing her hijab. Have attacked Israel preemptively. They're a terrorist nation and the biggest.
So
we do what they do? No, as I said, the people of Iran have self-determination and they want the Ayatollah gone. They should do it internally through a democratic
process. And by the way, I want to say this so that I don't get a bunch of hate mail. Criticism of the Israeli government is not anti-Semitic. Okay? I am criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu. I am criticizing Israel. I am not an anti-Semite. But under international criminal law, what is happening now is not legal. That's the bottom line.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that. Let's not do that, because if we start with that.
Now, Alicia and the other lady, they were on the perspective that even though things are not the way they're supposed to be in the US, that they haven't any moral comparison with Iran. But Sonny, who led initially previously in the episode criticized Israel, now suddenly the way she usually plays the victim. And if you remember, she was the one that came and told everyone that her father was having, or her grandparents had slaves, great-grandparents. There's a slave ownership in their lineage. And if this were to be somebody she hated, that person cannot talk again in the community of humans. But everyone ignored it because it doesn't have anything to do with anything in our current time. She played the victim, millionaire, multi-millionaire, but every time she plays more victim position than even the people who are real victims. So she initially criticized Israel, and now she's trying to clarify. I don't think criticizing Israel makes anyone an anti-Semite. No, it doesn't. But it still doesn't remove the fact that there are too many anti-Semites in our current West. And I don't know how that builds up. And you don't have to be anti-anyone, not anti-Iraq, anti-Iran. It can be anti-policy of people, not anti-people in any reason. Because from Iran, there are wonderful people that come from that country. I mean, wonderful people. Iraq, the same thing. Afghanistan, I have met some of them. And I know you have. So being anti-people makes you like deranged and stupid, ignorant. But to be anti-people's policy, that is what we mean. So being anti-Semite goes beyond being anti-people and people's policy to anti-people themselves. The same thing with being a racist, which is thrown around everywhere these days. Now, at this point was when Whoopi came in to show her superior knowledge of the subject matter, and that was abysmal. For somebody her age, first of all, and her, what will I say, exposure to the world, to take such a position, it's not just disheartening, it was a total disappointment. You listen to it yourself.
We have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
I'm sorry, but where the Iranian regime is today, is nothing compared to the United States.
Hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I could accept wearing this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto and killed for
I'm sorry.
No, I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you,
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good. Whoever does.
Whoopi is trying to say
very different.
that gay people are being murdered in the US today. Where? Like the way it is done in Iran. Remember, policy, not people, because there are white gays, black gays. It doesn't have anything to do with the people, but the policy. So to take this position in a country where women are allowed to marry women, men are allowed to marry men, to say this in a country where that is like normalized, in the Western world, this is normalized. Whether you like it or not, whether it's your belief or not, it's immaterial. You listen to what the government approved, and in US, this is approved. And she's saying that this is the same thing with the situation in Iran. You see that it's either that she is intellectually inept or intentionally dishonest. Whichever way, it doesn't paint a good picture. But what do you expect? What do you expect? This is the left, the current left, always having a reason to play victim. As a matter of fact, I'm not accusing the entire left now, but when you come to this particular show, the two people who have these deranged views belong to the left. The other two people are partially right. Let's complete the show and see how it goes. So back to it.
To live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys, don't go to Tehran. Do not anyone at this table to go to Tehran.
Let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But yeah, I know that. And we all know that. But every day we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are our kids going to get shot because they're running through somebody's neighborhood? They are not big deals, and I don't mean to say they're not big deals to you, because that's not what I meant.
And they are not doing well there either. They are not doing well in Iran. They are not educated. They cannot
talking about the United States.
I'm talking about here.
Nobody wants to diminish the very real problems we have in this country. That is no one's intent. But I think it's important we remember there are places much darker than this country and people who deserve rights.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody.
This is completely disheartening. In my place, we used to say that the reason why it is good when everyone is dying to remain an elder is to let somebody be alive to tell the younger generation that you don't eat the meat of a vulture. It's a proverb of my people. But to see an elder, somebody as old as Whoopi, taking this position, who has seen the worst of her country, seen the good, and is enjoying the better, taking this position, it's a total disappointment. It's a failure. And Sonny Huston, who has always taken the worst of every situation, the only thing I can say to her is shame. she's a shame. It's a shame. It's a kind of a total embarrassment. And look at the divide between these two. These are two, a black woman and a Latino woman, and two Caucasian women. The two Caucasian women have positive view of life, positive view of the era we are in. Nobody is sleeping on the plantation now. Nobody has a master in a plantation who is whipping his back every morning. But these two people who should know better, who should acknowledge the process we have come through, where we were coming from and where we are. And they either feign ignorance or that they're really ignorant or malicious. Either of that, and one of the three. It's quite unfortunate. And that leads me to the next video we're going to check. So, but before we go to that, if you got any value so far, please leave your comment. If you think I'm talking rubbish, it's a free word. Let me know at the comment side. Don't go carrying it in your mind. Let it out on me. If you get value one more time, you can also go extra mile to subscribe for more. I don't post every day. I post three times in a week. But it would be nice that anytime I come here, I see that somebody left me a message. I go through it and make a comment. Or either I breeze through it or I dwell on it. So let us now go to the next video, which was a professor who is telling people that this view Sonny and Whoopi had don't have foundation in reality. That you don't have any privilege over me. My privilege is in my hand and your privilege is in your hand. Especially in terms of my color and the benefits or demerits that come from it. It's a different thing to say that, okay, because my parents didn't do well, I have economic disprivilege. Or you are more privileged, you have more privilege than me based on your father had more economic status than mine. That could be understood. But that is the same case with whether you are white or black. But if your mindset is that you have privilege over me because your parents were white and my parents were black, therefore the privilege is inherited by you and I inherit the less privilegedness of my own parents. No. But that is what most of the people in the West are taught today, especially in the US. And as a matter of fact, that has no foundation in any reality, at least not an objective reality. But that is a view most people on the left, unfortunately, here in Europe, most people hold. Don't ask me how they got it. Don't ask me how they got it. I can't answer you that. But what I can answer you is that my mistakes are as a result of my decisions. My success are also as a result of my decisions. They are not because my father was rich or poor. If I should grow as tall as my father, then I wouldn't be here. And you, if your father is a multi-millionaire, if you should have that privilege, yeah, that will be understood, economic privilege. But if you don't put your own effort to control what your father left for you, you will be as poor as any poor person from any racial or economic background, period. So let's watch the professor and see what he has.
Latest Young America Foundation event, making white liberal students cry. You can't make this stuff up. This video gets wild. As usual, guys, the timestamps for these debates are all in the description. Skip to the part that you like. Let's get it.
I would like to preface my question with a couple of words from a fellow American and a fellow Christian myself. So I would like to open with
First of all, do you see the premise? Fellow Americans and a Christian myself. At Backlash, appealing to authorities. None of them, that means she can actually be absolved of the ignorance because she was quoting some authorities, fellow Americans, and as a Christian, I say talking with like fellow Americans who the stupid ones make you as important as anything, or being a Christian absolves you from being stupid. We continue.
A verse from Leviticus 19, verse 15. It says, "You shall not do injustice in court. You shall not be partial to the poor or defer to the great, but in righteousness shall you judge your neighbor." And that, to me, relates to the institution of white privilege and what the liberalists claim that it is. It is not to put white people above. It is not to bring black people down. It is to judge what wrong has been done in the past by white people so we can learn from our mistakes and move forward in this country. And so I am going to be blunt, since you were advocating for violence, such as your example with hanging and Muhammad Ali. I just want to know, what is the point in spreading blatant lies as you referred to before, such as like the liberals were taking over the government to elect black or like liberals en masse. I mean, if you look at our Congress today, it is 70% white. I just want to know why.
Well, that's not a lie, because if you look at the black community, which is what I'm talking about, almost 100% of our representation are liberal. When you go to any city, any majority black district, the person that represents that area is a liberal. So when you're talking about a lie, you obviously don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, in relation to that, remember, United States is almost 60-something% white, around 13% blacks, and yet it's not 100% white. So representation means if it is the more the people, the more the representation. And yet, most white neighborhoods are represented by black people, irrespective of the fact that they are the minority. Of course, minority that refuse to grow in number because of other factors that are not part of this, factored into this particular show. So the idea that this is a background for any question, and see the audacity of the person asking the question, the certitude she had, the moral certitude as being right. That it's like, I'm prosecuting you by your own words. Unfortunately, how long did that last?
Because that's a fact. It's not a lie. Also, when you start talking about what white people have done to America, it's about what a white person has done. I don't believe in collective punishment. I'll make you responsible for what you did. I'm not going to hold you responsible for what somebody else did 100 years ago or what somebody else did today. I hold you responsible for your action. You hold me responsible for my action. In the same way that some white people believe that black people are lazy, shiftless, and ignorant and whatnot. That's not me. In the same way that most of y'all believe they're on their knees begging and slobbering and asking for reparations. That's not me. I don't believe in collective punishment. I deal with you as an individual. Therefore, white privilege is a lie. I've asked you very simply to show me the white person that has privilege over me. Nobody stood up. Do you think you have privilege over me?
Yes.
You're crazy. You're insane. You have no privilege over me.
He said she's crazy for thinking that she has privilege over him. And I think she's actually more than crazy. She's deranged, totally deranged. Brainwashed, as a matter of fact. It takes the highest level of brainwashing, programming to get somebody who is your own student to tell you that she has more privilege than you. Hey, she's learning from you. If you have more privilege than me, what keeps you under me? You're not supposed to be under me then. Okay, let's take it that he's not their teacher. He's just there to have his conference. You don't even know his background. You don't know his story. You don't know much about him, and yet you claim privilege over him. It's just simply narcissistic. And this is coming from the people who have terminology for everyone. They call Nazis fascist. This is pure narcissism. As a matter of fact. So let's see how he handles that. And then what happens next will blow your mind. the strong got weak so fast.
Let's make this absolutely positively clear. You have no privilege over me, and if you got it, show it to me right now.
My parents had generational wealth.
What's your privilege over me?
Exactly.
Well, you tell me.
Let her speak. Yeah, let her speak. Come on.
Shut up, boy. She's speaking.
If you don't mind doing me a favor and smashing that thumbs up button for your boy, it really goes a long way.
So this palette continued for quite a while, and to be frank with you, of course, at the middle of it, the young lady or old lady, I didn't see the person. It sounded like a woman. No, these days you don't have to say who is a woman or who is not, but the voice I heard was the voice of a woman. If I'm wrong, unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. That's why we are humans. So he started crying. He broke down. She broke down in tears, saying that it's hurting her feelings. You have a privilege over this person, and he is able to hurt your feelings. That might be doing really badly with your privilege. And this mentality that you have any kind of privilege over anybody that is not economical. Economical can be understood because if you have pay, if you have cash, you have cash. If you don't have cash, you don't have cash. If you have connection, you have connection. If you don't have connection, you don't have connection. If you talk about privilege from that perspective, it could be understood. But talking about privilege in terms of hereditary, color of my skin, the things that are completely out of my control, then you are as deranged as the person who taught you that, either in school or at home. I really didn't plan to make this video this long, but as a matter of fact, if you came this far, thank you so much for watching. And I hope to see you twice this week before we hit next week. So while we wait, pray, hope and pray that the war in Middle East doesn't escalate into World War III. And also pray that Ukraine and Russia find a way to come to the table. And also pray that what is going on in Gaza between Palestine and Israel will come to an end. The more peaceful the world is, the more enjoyable and happy for everyone. On that note, I say, have a wonderful time and more love to all of you. Ciao.